And we think they are winning. Now, if we think they're winning, you can imagine what they think.
Yes, they know they're winning.
And if they know that, you can see that they're not anxious to find any answer to it.
That's right.
We seem to have tried everything that we know to do. I stayed here for over a year when they were urging us to bomb before I'd go beyond the line. I have stayed away from their industrial targets and their civilian population.
Yeah, but Hanoi and Haiphong are stripped clean and have been for months. And you bomb them, you get nothing. You just build up more hatred. You get these people tied more closely together because they are tied by blood, whether from the north or the south.
I think that's true, and I think that you've done nearly everything that you can do except make it a complete white man's war.
And if you do that, then you might as well say goodbye, all of Asia, and to most of the world.
Well, I think that's probably, I think that's right. Therefore, where do you go?
Well, you don't go ahead. You don't pull out. You try to do something to consolidate your position in South Vietnam. And that may take more troops. Certainly will take more Vietnamese, I think, when
they're getting more of them in, Mike, but they're going out the other end. They're deserting just like flies.
The commander of America's forces in Vietnam, General William Westmoreland, cables Washington. He wants 41,000 combat troops right away and 52,000 more later. And, he adds, he will need even greater forces to take the war to the enemy. McNamara says we're in a hell of a mess.
It gets down to a question of numbers then.
That's right. Westmoreland recommended 10 additional battalions over and above the 13 you've already authorized, which would have a strength of something on the order of 45,000 men. I would recommend 5 battalions with a strength of about 25,000 men. So we're talking about a difference of 20,000 people, but they're all combat people, and it's quite a difference in risk, in my opinion. And really, this is the difference, and this is a hard one to argue out with the chiefs, because in the back of my mind, I have a very definite limitation on commitment in mind, and I don't think the chiefs do. In fact, I know they do.
You think that this is just the next step with them up the ladder?
Yes. Well, they hope they don't have to go any further, but Westmoreland outlines in his cable the step beyond it. And he doesn't say that's the last.
Well, I don't guess anybody knows.
I don't think anybody knows, that's right. But I'm inclined to think that unless we really are willing to go to a full potential land war, we've got to slow down here and try to halt at some point the ground troop commitment.
Do you know how far we're going to go, or do the Joint Chiefs know, and what human being knows? Now, we don't say that putting these people in is going to win, but we say if you don't put them in, you're going to lose substantially what you have.
Yeah.
Now, we don't want to promise to do it, but this is more of a holding action in the hope that through the monsoon they'll change their mind and time will play instead of being rash. We're trying to be prudent. Isn't that really what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
No, not a damn human thinks that 50,000 or 100,000 or 150,000 are going to end that war. And we're not getting out, but we're trying to hold what we got.
Holding what we've got proves hard to do. On the 18th of June, South Vietnam gets its 10th government in 20 months. A few days later, Viet Cong mortars destroy 3 U.S. aircraft at Da Nang. President Johnson and Defense Secretary McNamara realize they will need more boots on the ground. Where will they get them? Listen.
Assuming we do everything we can to the extent of our resources, can we really have any assurance that we win? I mean, assuming we have all the big bombers and all the powerful payloads and everything else, can 3 Viet Cong come in and tear us up and continue this thing and indefinitely, and I'll never really bring it to an end?
Yeah.
That's one thing I want to look at. The second thing I want you to look at, can we really, without getting any further authority, from the Congress have all-out support, are sufficient to overwhelming support to work successfully, to fight successfully. I don't know whether those men have ever thought in making their calculations, one, whether we can win with the kind of training we have, the kind of power, and two, I don't know whether they've taken into their calculations whether we can have a united support here at home.
I think, Mr. President, that there are two thoughts on it. First, if we do go as far as my paper suggested, sending numbers of men out there, we ought to call up reserves. You have authority to do that without additional legislation, but I doubt that you would want to use it. Almost surely, if we called up reserves, you would want to go to the Congress to get additional authority. This would be a vehicle for drawing together support. Now, you'd say, well, yes, but it also might lead to extended debate and divisive statements. I think we could avoid that. I really think if we were to go to the Clarks and the McGoverns and the churches and say to them, now, this is our situation. We cannot win with our existing commitment. We must increase it if we're going to win in this limited term that we define, in the limited way we define win. It requires additional troops. Along with that approach, we are embarking upon, or continuing this political initiative to probe for a willingness to negotiate a reasonable settlement here. And we ask your support under these circumstances. I think you'd get it from them under those circumstances. And that's a vehicle by which you both get the authority to call up the reserves and also tie them into the whole program.
Well, that makes sense.
July 28, 1965.
I have asked the commanding general, General Westmoreland, what more he needs to meet this mounting aggression. He has told me, and we will meet his needs. I have today ordered to Vietnam the Air Mobile Division and certain other forces which will raise our fighting strength from 75,000 to 125,000 men almost immediately. Additional forces will be needed later, and they will be sent as requested. This will make it necessary to increase our active fighting forces by raising the monthly draft call from 17,000 over a period of time to 35,000 per month, and for us to step up our campaign for voluntary enlistments.
By year's end, there will be 184,000 troops in Vietnam, even as 90,000 South Vietnamese soldiers are deserting. Before it's over, in 1975, 2.5 million American military will serve in Vietnam.
I do not find it easy to send the flower of our youth, our finest young men, into battle. I've spoken to you today of the divisions and the forces and the battalions and the units. But I know them all, every one. I have seen them in 1,000 streets of 100 towns in every state in this union, working and laughing and building and filled with hope and life. And I think I know, too, how their mothers weep and how their families sorrow. And this is the most agonizing and the most painful duty of your president.
Now, in a different world, at a different time, and with a different president, we face the prospect of enlarging a different war. But once again, we're fighting in remote provinces against an enemy who can bleed us slowly and wait us out, because he will still be there when we're gone. Once again, we're caught between warring factions in a country where other foreign powers fail before us. And once again, every setback brings a call for more troops, although no one can say how long they will be there or what it means to win. Once again, the government we're trying to help is hopelessly corrupt and incompetent. And once again, a president pushing for critical change at home is being pressured to stop dithering, be tough, show he's got the guts by sending young people 7,000 miles from home to fight and die while their own country is coming apart. And once again, the loudest case for enlarging the war is being made by those who will not have to fight it, who will be safely in their beds while the war grinds on. And once again, a small circle of advisors debates the course of action, but one man will make the decision. We will never know what would have happened if Lyndon Johnson had said no to more war. We know what happened because he said yes. That's it for the Journal. I'm Bill Moyers. See you next time.